It's April 19th, 2020. Babyface is still smooth, but Teddy can't jam. Going to talk about the latest of the IG battles between Teddy Riley and Babyface. Going to go across the lines with Suge Knight and Big Red from the Five Heartbeats. Happy 26th birthday to the album Illmatic. And happy 419 day, go Hio.
Across the country and around the world, across the street and around the corner, this is Over the Culture.
This is Over the Culture podcast, where you get to hear my spin on things I like music, sports entertainment, movies, TV shows, and your mom. You also get to hear about things I don't fucking like people who can't social distance themselves off my social media. Who the fuck brought you here? What's up, everybody? I'm your bastard of ceremonies, the one gig kid, Alistair Black, Pat Stay Black, Reefer Sutherland, the most interesting blurred in podcasting, social distancing consultant, Steve G. And this right here is Over the Culture, man. What's up, my people? Happy 419. This is Steve G. This is Over the Culture. This is my phone that I'm speaking into. How was your week? You still social distancing, quarantining, and staying clean? So fresh and so clean? Staying out of people's fucking faces? Limiting the small talk with the clerks at the gas station? Shut the fuck up. No one cares how your day's going. Stop taking 20 minutes to get these fucking pick 3s and pick 4s. I just want my Doritos and my Lipton iced tea. Come on, Wilbur. Arthur. Anyways, I'm seeing people are getting their Trump change, their stimuli, and they're announcing it on social media like fucking morons. I hope you're not one of these people, my cultivating cultivus. Let's not leave tracks in the fucking sand. Oh my God. Like, how dumb are we? That's good. Keep your blessings to yourself. Sometimes you just have to keep your blessings to yourself. Because this motherfucker's out here hungry. People who haven't worked, people who haven't gotten their unemployment checks, people who can't get a hold of unemployment, people who haven't got their stimuli, people who aren't going to get a stimuli because they're behind on child support. They got 15, 11 babies by 20 baby mamas. But you want to make this post and it's being seen, it's being shared. Friends who are friends of your friends can see this. If you got a public profile, oh man, I got my stimulus check. I got my Trump change. Now you could possibly be a target. Hey, I haven't gotten my unemployment check in 3 weeks. Those fuckers owe me almost a month's pay. I just got a hold of somebody on Friday. Finally, through the grace of God. Won't he do it? I just decided to call. I've been calling him at random times. Call him in the morning, 7 a.m. Eastern. Calling them right before they close, 5 p.m. Eastern. I've called them at night. I've chosen the Spanish prompt just to see if I could get in quicker. But Friday, I was able to get through, and the reason they haven't given me my money, those motherfuckers, they're holding up my bread because they said that the name on my Social Security card doesn't match the name that I'm putting in the application. And that was fucking false. Because I'm looking at the name that I'm putting in there, spelled with the PH. My name is Steven, S-T-E-P-H-E-N. It's not Stefan, it's not Stefan. You don't spell it with a S-T-E-V-E-N. It's S-T-E-P-H-E-N. And that's how it is on my Social Security card. I took a picture of it and sent it back to him. I emailed it to him. She said she was going to have everything squared away. And yeah, I told him, man, look, I've got coworkers. Some of them don't even come into work half the time. And they got their unemployment. What the fuck? And she told me, and I tried to be cordial with the lady. I didn't hold it against her. It's not her that did this fuck shit. But apparently, the unemployment office, they pick random people to do a background check or whatever, just to fuck with you, just because, you know, apparently that's their way of crossing their T's, dotting their I's. And I knew that my name matched what was on the Social Security card, but yet I was that random guy. It doesn't matter if your Social Security card matches the name on your application. You just could be a random person that they pick. And because of that is why the holdup. That is the reason for the holdup. 3 weeks behind. You owe me at least a rack. A couple of them. Damn near. So yeah, this week I need to get something coming in. I need some income coming in. And this Trump change, look, man, y'all keep announcing, you might see Steve G in your face. And I don't have a gun, I don't have a knife, I don't have weapons. I'm just gonna badger you with horrible dad jokes, and I might cough on you. Stop telling people your fortunes, man. Stop telling people that you got your fucking check, man. Anywho, so Teddy Riley and Babyface they're the latest in the Instagram battles. Producer versus producer, catalog versus catalog. And it sounds embarrassing. I reluctantly watched this, and the first 5 minutes of it, I'm embarrassed for Teddy. It's like Statler and Waldorf, those two puppets that were always criticizing on the Muppet Show. It was like that, but yet, like Babyface, he was still cool, keeping his, you know, his sound was, you know, it was blaring. Teddy, you know, he started it off with the Dougie Fresh, and it just, man, like, where's your money at, dude? You know, of course, the memes, the crying Jordan faces, all of that ensues. Even CNN chimed in on this, and it's an article written this morning by Amir Vera. It says, the highly anticipated Instagram live battle between Kenny Babyface Edmonds and Teddy Riley didn't turn out as expected Saturday night. Issues with the audio, specifically on Riley's end, halted the face-off between the two legendary producers that drew more than 400,000 viewers. It looked as though Riley was prepared for a concert, unlike Babyface, who was sitting in a studio. That may have been Riley's downfall, because all viewers heard was playback and echoes whenever it was his turn to play a song. The comments were riddled with jokes about the two producers' age. Babyface is 62 and Riley is 53, and them not being able to use Instagram. Comedian Lil Duval posted on his Instagram saying Riley should just use his iPhone to record rather than trying to set up a concert. Radio host Charlemagne the God fired off some jokes, posting a meme of two old men at a computer saying it was Riley and his team in the studio. Singer Tony Braxton was live tweeting during the whole debacle, at one point saying that watching the live feed was like watching old folks using jitterbug phones. Comedian Kevin Fredericks posted a parody of Riley's performance, emphasizing the playback and how Riley may have had a dance routine ready. The battle was supposed to start at 9 p.m., but by 10 p.m., it was apparent the audio needed to be fixed, so they stopped and told viewers to come back at 10:30. But moments after 10:30 p.m., Babyface suggested it'd be better to postpone the battle. Tonight was really special. It's only right that we postpone this thing and do it at a time when there aren't any technical difficulties and everybody can hear the music the way it needs to be heard, Babyface said in an Instagram video. Riley later described it on Instagram as just like a boxing match. Something goes wrong, we gotta do it again. Babyface announced the battle last week on his birthday. Like I said, I watched the first 5 minutes and I was embarrassed for Teddy. He's being a true champ. He's being a slugger and he's sticking with it. And this doesn't change my opinion of Teddy Riley. He's already a legend in the game. His name is solidified. You know, of course, the memes and everything, the internet don't love anybody. The web's got no love for these people in these internet streets, man. But, still a fan. He's the godfather of New Jack Swing. He fostered a whole sound and dominated the charts for years. He held it down on the pop and R&B charts just like Babyface did in the 80s and 90s. So I'm going to continue watching this, and it's probably going to be the equivalent of fingernail screeching on the chalkboard. But hey, we're going to push through, power through. Dark Side of the Ring, let's talk about that. Very entertaining, very informative. They interview different wrestlers, different performers, people involved with different events, historic events in the history of wrestling. And the latest episode, it airs on Vice on Tuesday nights, and the latest episode goes over Superfly Jimmy Snuka. And, he's considered a legend in wrestling. He's a WWE Hall of Famer, professional wrestling Hall of Famer, and he's won numerous accolades and titles throughout the course of his career. And back in 1983, I believe, he went to trial for the death of his girlfriend at the time, and it was a little fishy, but it was kind of swept under the rug. The internet wasn't around, nowhere around. You didn't really have access to the mass media like we do today. And long story short, he was convicted, but he couldn't stand trial, if I'm not mistaken, because the way they played it, he was incompetent, and this was not too long before he died. But if you haven't been watching, even if you're not a fan of professional wrestling, it is a great show. It's an hour-long series, and it's called Dark Side of the Ring. And the next episode, this Tuesday, they're going to air Dino Bravo. He was a professional wrestler from Quebec. He made his name back in the 80s, you could say, throughout the early 90s, and he was shot in the early 90s, and they say he was attached to the Canadian mob. He was doing some cigarette sales, interstate, whatever, on the black market, and he was, doing some work for the mob up there, and very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that story, and they cover a lot of unsung heroes, because one of the other episodes was about New Jack, and it talks about his come up in the wrestling game as far as just being a black man, and that's already an uphill battle when you're in professional wrestling. Even though we've had legions, there's been a lot of professional wrestling has had black support for as long as it's been around, but yet our portrayals, our appearances, our presence, it doesn't reflect that, i.e. us just getting our first black WWE champion last year in Kofi Kingston, outside of our first fully black, and that's not to take away from Dwayne Johnson, but that just shows you what timeline professional wrestling is running. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, and the New Jack episode, it goes into great detail about how he went to trial for wrestling an amateur wrestler, and he damn near killed the kid, and he, unbeknownst to anyone, he was underage. The kid was 17 at the time, and New Jack wrestled in Extreme Championship Wrestling, where they godfathered basically the hardcore style into America. And New Jack, his style is he doesn't hold any punches. And if you piss him off, apparently he goes even further and works even stiffer, hitting you with more chairs, hitting you with more bats, barbed wire bats, things of that nature, kendo sticks. And the kid got rushed to the hospital, damn near died, and they beat the trial because I guess what really won it for him was the fact that the guy lied to everyone. He told everyone that he was a legal adult when in fact he was only a teenager. And crazy shit, man. A lot of unsung heroes that you don't normally hear about outside of the superstars, but Dark Side of the Ring, they give you good stories. You know, like I said, even if you're not a fan of professional wrestling, if you like good stories, things that are interesting, it's the equivalent of ID Channel. I wouldn't be surprised if they would air reruns of this show on ID Channel. Speaking of ID Channel, I have to stop falling asleep watching the fucking ID Channel. Bad things are conjured up in my thoughts, in my dreams when I'm asleep. Not no Freddy Krueger shit. Not no Jason Voorhees shit. Ex-girlfriend shit. More realistic shit. But yeah, man. That's what I've been watching. Wrestling, ID Channel, and Golden Girls. That's been my lineup this week. That Rose, what a crazy broad, huh? Blanche, she's such a slut. Sophia and Dorothy, the queens of the snapbacks. She get it from her mama. She get it from her mama. Tonight is the night for The Last Dance. It's a 10-part series on ESPN about the Jordan reign. The Jordan, Pippen, Horace Grant / Rodman, Cartwright, Bill Winnington, Luke Longley, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper, Tony Kukoc, fucking Brian Williams, Randy Brown, motherfucker. What a great time to be alive. I'm watching NBA on NBC. You get to watch Michael Jeffrey Jordan with Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman versus Shaquille O'Neal, Anthony Hardaway, Horace Grant, Dennis Scott, Nick Anderson. Oh my goodness. Charles Barkley with Thunder Dan Marley versus Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, and Mario Elie, and Sam Cassell, and a young Robert Horry. But anyways, tonight is the night. They promoted this 30 for 30, I feel like, forever ago. I thought we'd never see the day. It took us like 11 years and like sacrificing ourselves through this pandemic to make it to the premiere of The Last Dance 30 for 30. I will be there in front of my television, popcorn, maybe not. Yeah, watch that shit, motherfuckers, because it's MJ.
Today in sports history, in 1897, the first Boston Marathon is won by John J. McDermott in 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 10 seconds, the world's oldest annual marathon inspired by the success of the first marathon at the 1896 Summer Olympics. In 1900, the highest scoring opening game is held. The Phillies beat the Braves 19-17 in 10 innings. In 1944, that year's NFL draft is held. Angelo Bertelli from the University of Notre Dame is first pick by the Boston Yanks. In 1947, the Stanley Cup Finals are held at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Ontario. Maple Leafs edged the Montreal Canadiens 2-1 for a 4-2 series win, first All-Canadian final since 1935. Also, on that same day, Soo Yun Buck wins the world record for the Boston Marathon, 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 39 seconds. 1949, the Yankees dedicate a plaque for Babe Ruth. In 1954, the 7-time winner of the Boston Marathon, 65-year-old Clarence DeMar, runs his last race in Boston, finishing 78th. In 1960, baseball uniforms begin displaying players' names on their backs. In 1982, Rosie Ruiz, infamous for cheating in the Boston Marathon, is arrested for forgery. In 1986, Michael Spinks beats Larry Holmes in 15 rounds for the heavyweight boxing title. In 1987, the Los Angeles Clippers end their season with a terrible 12-70 record. In 1990, the Detroit Pistons and the Philadelphia 76ers get into a fight, accruing $162,500 in fines, setting an NBA record. In 1991, Evander Holyfield beats George Foreman in 12 rounds for the heavyweight boxing title. In 1996, the Rangers scored 16 runs in the 8th inning versus the Baltimore Orioles. How do you allow 16 to go in the inning? Fire the whole pitching staff, the bullpen, the pitching coaches. I digress. In 1997, the NFL draft is held. Ohio State offensive tackle Orlando Pace is the first pick by the St. Louis Rams. Go Ohio. That was my half-ass sports report. When we come back, we're going to go across the lines with Suge Knight and Big Red of the movie 5 Heartbeats. We'll be back after these messages. In today's birthdays, happy 30th birthday to American baseball player Jackie Bradley Jr. Russian tennis player Maria Sharapova turns 33 today. American basketball player Candace Parker is 34. American baseball player Joe Mauer turns 37. American actress Kate Hudson is 41 today. American actor, director, producer, and screenwriter James Franco is 42. American basketball player, coach, and radio host Scott Padgett is 44 today. He was the NCAA champion with the Kentucky Wildcats back in the 90s. American actress and activist Ashley Judd is 52 today. Japanese wrestler El Samurai turns 54. American record producer, businessman who co-founded Death Row Records, Suge Knight, is 55 today. American race car driver Al Unser Jr. is 58. American singer, songwriter, and record producer Stevie B is 62 today. English actor Tim Curry is 74 today. Wow. 74.
I woke up early on my born day. I'm 20 years of blessing. The essence of adolescence leave my body. Now I'm fresh in my physical frame. And celebrate it cause I made it. One quarter through life, some godly life been created. Got rhymes 365 days annual plus some. Load up the mic and bust one. Cause while I puss from my skull cause it's pain in my brain vein. Money maintained to go against the grain. Simple and plain. When I was young at this I used to do my thing hard. Robbing foreigners, take their wallets, their jewels and rip their green cards. Get to the projects, flashing my quick cash. And got my first piece of ass smoking blunts with hash. Now it's all about cash in abundance. Niggas I used to run with is richer doing years in the hundreds. I switched my motto. Instead of saying fuck tomorrow, that bug that bought a bottle could've struck the lotto. Once I stood on the block, loose cracks produced stacks. I cooked up and cut small pieces to get my loot back. Time is illmatic, keep static like wool fabric. Pack a 4-matic to crack your whole cabbage. Life's a bitch and then die. That's why we puff fly. Cause you never know when you're gonna go. Life's a bitch and then you die. That's why we get high.
Happy 26th anniversary, Illmatic.
Are you tired of being called the beanpole? Are you mad at your memories? Have they been mistaken for mosquito bites? Does your push-up bra need a push-up bra? Too embarrassed to wear a bikini at the beach because everyone will think you're a boy in drag? To that I say, OBG, why are you allowing yourself to suffer when the Itty Bitty Titty Committee is here to help you? IBTC is an outreach program dedicated to providing counseling and therapy sessions for women who weren't gifted with guns. For those who really want implants but can't afford them at the moment. In the meantime, we'll boost your confidence with affirmation training, gymnastic therapy, and group hugs. Micromastia is no laughing matter. It has become one of the leading factors of stress for women aged 25 to 40 in the last 8 days. Stress can lead to depression, and as we know, depression can get the best of us. You're not the only one with lowercase a cups. There's a whole community out there ready and available to help you in your time of need. Call 1-800-419-IBTC.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. You know what that means, right? You pay nothing. It's free 99. It's a free app that you put on your phone, and it lets you go from there. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Check out Anchor.
Gonna weather the storm before dysfunction gives way to reform. Before we understand there's no consolation when you let cronyism sabotage our nation. Case in point, here come the elite. For your shirt off your back and your shoes off your feet, represented by vultures who overshadow the culture. Don't it feel like we're getting fucked over? The soldiers' blood sealed up in a barrel of oil, casualty of America's spoil. Corrupt cops that broke correctional system, cold-trapped Latinos and blacks in prison. Fist to the bullshit bureaucracy to silence the people with bullshit philosophy. If the meek inherit the earth, they gotta be willing to stand for it first. Doesn't really matter in a fight for your life if the foot on your neck is a left or a right. When every politician in the house is bought, and they never show remorse even when they get caught. Accepting is broke, gotta fix it. Trying to kick it to you but you're not listening. The problem is major attention. Metamorphosis system, gotta be a better way than this one. Break the poor man's back for the rich one. Shit is sick when we got the prescription. Metamorphosis system.
Politics spent by financial backers, pandering panhandlers for animal practice. Democracy or a hypocrisy, push forward on an envelope constantly. With the demon posses, carbon copies, constitutions being used as proxy. Ancient views, believed by fools, no progress wearing cement shoes. Always doing what you already did, so you always got what you still gonna get. Going through the webs of hate and condemnation, the fucking the country, put a condom on our nation. Being killed by the sounds of silence, closed mouths don't get fed this mindless. When you seek truth, it's easy to sense evil, but the older I get, the less I expect the people.
Doesn't really matter in a fight for your life if the foot on your neck is a left or a right. When every politician in the house is bought, and they never show remorse even when they get caught. Accepting is broke, gotta fix it. Trying to kick it to you but you're not listening. The problem is major attention. Metamorphosis system, gotta be a better way than this one. Break the poor man's back for the rich one. Shit is sick when you got the prescription. Metamorphosis system. Settle for the same or we can be the change. The possibilities are beyond what we can see. We can settle for the same or we can be the change. The possibilities are beyond what we can see.
To bring about a political revolution where millions of people begin to stand up and finally say, this great country and our government belong to all of us, not just a handful of billionaires.
A better way than this one. Break the poor man's back for the rich one. Shit sick, but you got the
special mentions to those no longer with us. This past Thursday, we lost ring announcer Howard Finkel. Born Howard Finkel June 7, 1950 in Newark, New Jersey, he's perhaps best known for his work in WWE. He began working for Vince McMahon Sr.'s Worldwide Wrestling Federation in 1975, making him the company's longest tenured employee, and was a ring announcer since 1977. Widely regarded as the greatest ring announcer of all time, Finkel was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2009. He's also credited as the one who initially coined the term WrestleMania. Finkel died on April 16, 2020, at the age of 69. He had been unwell since a stroke in February 2019. Dudley Moore was an English actor, comedian, musician, and composer. Born Dudley Stewart John Moore on April 19, 1935 in Charing Cross, London, England, he first came to prominence in the UK as a leading figure in the British satire boom of the 1960s. He was one of the 4 writer-performers in the comedy revue Beyond the Fringe from 1960 that created a boom in satirical comedy, and with one member of that team, Peter Cook, collaborated on the BBC television series Not Only, But Also. The double act worked on other projects until the mid-1970s, by which time Moore had settled in Los Angeles to concentrate on his film acting. His solo career as a comedy film actor was heightened by the success of hit Hollywood films, particularly Foul Play in 1978, 10 in 1979, and Arthur 1981. For Arthur, Moore was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor and won a Golden Globe Award. He received a second Golden Globe for his performance in Mickey and Maude in 1984. In April 1997, after spending 5 days in a New York hospital, Moore was informed that he had calcium deposits in the basal ganglia of his brain and irreversible frontal lobe damage. In September 1997, he underwent quadruple heart bypass surgery in London. He also suffered 4 strokes. On September 30th, 1999, Moore announced that he was suffering from the terminal degenerative brain disorder, progressive supranuclear palsy, a Parkinson plus syndrome, some of the early symptoms being so similar to intoxication that he had been reported as being drunk, and that the illness had been diagnosed earlier that year. Moore died on the morning of March 27, 2002, as a result of pneumonia, secondary to immobility caused by the palsy. Moore died on the morning of March 27, 2002, as a result of pneumonia, secondary to immobility caused by the palsy in Plainfield, New Jersey at age 66. Rena Fruchter was holding his hand when he died. She reported his final words were, "I can hear the music all around me." Moore was interred at Hillside Cemetery in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. Fruchter later wrote a memoir of their relationship entitled Dudley Moore. Rest easy, y'all. Suge Knight, the American former music executive who was the co-founder and CEO of Death Row Records, turns 55 today. He was a central figure in gangster rap's catapult to massive commercialization. Born Marion Hugh Knight Jr. on April 19, 1965 in Compton, California, he is the son of Maxine and Marion Knight Sr. His name Suge derives from Sugar Bear, a childhood nickname. He attended Linwood High School in nearby Linwood, where he was a football and track star. He graduated in 1983. From 1983 to 1985, he attended and played football at El Camino College. In 1985, he transferred to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and played there for 2 years. Knight went undrafted in the 1987 NFL Draft, but was invited to the Los Angeles Rams training camp. He was cut by the Rams during camp, but he became a replacement player during the 1987 NFL Players' Strike and played 2 games for the Rams. After the NFL, Knight found work as a concert promoter and bodyguard for celebrities including Bobby Brown. In 1989, Knight formed his own music publishing company. His first big profit in the business came when Vanilla Ice agreed to sign over royalties from his smash hit Ice Ice Baby, because the song included material allegedly written by Knight's client Mario Johnson. Knight and his bodyguards confronted Van Winkle several times. On one occasion, Knight entered Van Winkle's hotel room and allegedly dangled him by his ankles off the balcony. Van Winkle said only that Knight threatened to throw him off the balcony. The claim was resolved in court. In 1991, the film The Five Heartbeats is released on March 29th. The plot of the film is loosely based on the lives of several artists: the Dells, the Temptations, Four Tops, Wilson Pickett, James Brown, Frankie Lyman, Sam Cooke, and others, and it follows the 3-decade career of the rhythm and blues vocal group The Five Heartbeats. In one scene, there's a heated exchange between a corrupt record label executive and Victor Bird Thomas, the lead singer of Bird and the Midnight Falcons. Feeling he's been shorted on his just due royalties, Bird confronts the label executive about the lack of funds. The label executive responds that his office hours are 9 to 5, cordially to Bird, and the singer is not taking no for an answer. As a result, Bird learns firsthand that after office hours isn't the best time to talk business, when he finds himself hanging upside down outside a hotel room window after being roughed up by the music executive and his goons carried to the window. That record label executive goes by the name of Big Red Davis. And that leads us to Across the Lines. Big Red Davis is the corrupt owner of the first record label the Five Heartbeats are signed to. He's portrayed by the veteran actor Hawthorne James. When the Five Heartbeats are first offered a deal from Big Red, their manager Jimmy Potter and his wife Eleanor are aware of Big Red's corruption, and they decline the deal. The group instead releases their first single on Jimmy's own independent label and searches for a record label they can trust, but no one else is interested aside from a label which wants to buy their songs for a group they've already signed, the Five Horsemen, prompting the Heartbeats to sign with Big Red. Throughout the mid to late 1960s, the Five Heartbeats received numerous awards, chart several hits, and are featured on magazine covers. However, one of the lead singers, Eddie King, starts abusing alcohol and cocaine, affecting his performance and prompting his girlfriend, Baby Doll, to break up with him. Convinced that Jimmy intends to replace him due to his deteriorating condition, he cuts a deal with Big Red to have Jimmy cut out of his contract. In retaliation, Jimmy threatens to go to the authorities with information about bootlegged LPs, cooked books, and payola that could have Big Red arrested, leading Red to have Jimmy killed in a hit disguised as an accident. Soon after Jimmy's funeral, the group learns that Eddie's deceit caused the fallout between Jimmy and Big Red. Big Red is eventually convicted of Jimmy's murder, forcing the group to sign with the new record label and causing a guilt-ridden Eddie to leave in disgrace. In 1991, according to NWA's manager Jerry Heller, Suge Knight and his henchmen threatened Heller and Eazy-E with lead pipes and baseball bats to make them release Dre, the DOC, and Miss Chalet from their contracts. Ultimately, Dre and DOC co-founded Death Row Records in 1991 with Knight and vowed to make it the Motown of the 90s. Initially, Knight fulfilled his ambitions. He secured a distribution deal with Interscope, and Dre's 1992 solo debut album, The Chronic, went on to triple platinum status in the United States by the end of 1993. It also made a career for Dre's protege, Snoop Dogg, whose own debut album, Doggy Style, obtained a quadruple platinum certification in the United States in 1994. Meanwhile, Death Row had begun a public feud with Two Live Crew's Luther Campbell, and when Knight traveled to Miami for a hip-hop convention in 1993, he was apparently seen openly carrying a stolen gun. The following year, he opened a private, by-appointment-only nightclub in Las Vegas called Club 662, so named because the number spelled out mob on telephone keypads, mob standing for Members of Bloods. In 1995, he ran afoul of activist C. Dolores Tucker, whose criticism of Death Row's glamorization of the gangsta lifestyle may have helped scuttle a lucrative deal with Time Warner. Knight's feud with East Coast entrepreneur Sean Combs progressed when Knight insulted the Bad Boy label founder on air at the Source Awards in August of 1995. Openly critical of Combs' tendency of ad-libbing on his artists' songs and dancing in their videos, Knight announced to the audience, anyone out there who want to be a recording artist and want to stay a star and don't want to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the records, dancing, come to Death Row. The same year, Knight offered to post bail, $1.4 million for Tupac Shakur if the rapper agreed to sign with Death Row. Shakur agreed, setting the stage for his 1996 double album, All Eyes on Me and the Don Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory. The label shrank when Dr. Dre, frustrated with the company's increasingly thuggish reputation and Knight's violent inclinations, decided to leave and form his own label, Aftermath Entertainment. A stream of Dre dissing records followed. Though never charged by any prosecutor for any involvement, Suge Knight has been the subject of theories in popular culture about the murder of two well-known rap artists. Tupac Shakur was shot 4 times in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada on September 7, 1996, and died 6 days later on September 13th. when Shakur's East Coast rival, the notorious B.I.G., aka Biggie Smalls, was murdered in a similar drive-by shooting in Los Angeles, California on March 9, 1997, speculation arose that Knight was involved and that Biggie's death was a revenge killing. Former death row artists, including Snoop Dogg, also later accused Knight of being involved in Tupac's murder. A theory accusing Suge Knight in the deaths of both Biggie and Tupac was that of ex-detective Russell Poole, who conjectured that Knight had Tupac killed before he could part ways with Knight's label, and then conspired to kill Biggie to divert attention from himself in the Tupac case. The Biggie murder theory implicated Suge Knight, a rogue cop, and a mortgage broker named Amir Muhammad, who was never a police suspect, along with the chief of the police and LAPD in a conspiracy to murder and cover up the murder of Biggie. The Biggie theory formed the basis of a $500 million lawsuit by his family, the Wallaces, against the city of Los Angeles. A key source for Poole's theory was Kevin Hackey. Hackey had implicated Suge Knight and David Mack. Hackey, a former death row associate, said that he had knowledge of involvement between Suge Knight and David Mack and other LAPD officers. His information was used by the Wallace family in their suit against the city of LA for Biggie's death. But Hackey later told a Los Angeles Times reporter, Chuck Phillips, that the Wallace attorneys had altered his declarations. The suit brought by the Wallace family against the city of LA, based on Russell Poole theory, was dismissed in 2010. A 2005 Los Angeles Times article claimed that another source for the theory of Biggie's murder, implicating Amir Muhammad, David Mack, Suge Knight, and the LAPD, was a schizophrenic man known as Psycho Mike, who later confessed to hearsay and memory lapses in falsely identifying Muhammad. John Cook of Brill's Content noted that Phillips' article demolished the Poole-Sullivan theory of Biggie's murder. On April 4, 2006, Knight filed bankruptcy due to civil litigation against him, in which Lydia Harris claimed to have been cheated out of a 50% stake in Death Row Records. Prior to filing, Knight had been ordered to pay $107 million to Harris. Under questioning by creditors, he denied having money tucked away in foreign countries or in an African company that deals in diamonds and gold. Bankruptcy documents filed showed Knight had no income from employment or operation of a business. According to financial records, his bank account contained just $12, and he owned clothing worth $1,000, furniture and appliances valued at $2,000, and jewelry worth $25,000. He also testified that the last time he had checked the label's financial records was at least 10 years prior. Knight's lawyer said that his client was still at the helm of Death Row and had been working on securing distribution deals for the label's catalog. Harris told reporters she had received a $1 million payment but had not agreed to settle the matter. "I'm telling you, I didn't do a settlement for $1 million. That's ridiculous. Let's keep it real," she said. On July 7, 2006, the federal judge Ellen Carroll ordered a bankruptcy trustee takeover of Suge Knight's Death Row Records, saying the record label had undergone a gross amount of mismanagement. He filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, which allows the company to continue business operations while restructuring. Death Row was being operated by Nielsen during the bankruptcy proceedings, while Knight oversaw his bankruptcy estate as a debtor in possession. In June 2007, he placed his 7-bedroom, 9.5-bath home in Malibu, California on the market for $6.2 million as part of his financial makeover. The mansion was finally sold in December 2008 in bankruptcy court for $4.56 million. In June 2008, Death Row Records was put up for auction in bankruptcy court. The winning bid went to New York-based company Global Music Group, which confirmed it had purchased the firm in a statement to the Associated Press news agency. Global Music Group failed to secure funding, and the Death Row Records catalog eventually went to Wide Awake Entertainment. On January 25, 2009, an auction was held for everything found in the Death Row Records office after the company filed for bankruptcy, including some of Knight's personal items. Of note was Death Row Records' electric chair, which sold for $2,500. Being a veteran actor in both film and theater, Hawthorne James' portrayal of Big Red Davis exposed him to a wider audience, one that included former rap mogul Suge Knight. With Knight's reputation as a tough and intimidating executive at Death Row Records, it's not surprising that folks would classify him as the original Big Red. Considering Knight is a big fan of the Five Heartbeats, James has no problem with the comparison. I know for a fact that many people that were around Suge used to tell me all the time, Suge would watch that movie over and over and over. That's how Suge became Suge, James revealed. There were several of his friends that were talking about doing a biography of Suge at one time, and there were several friends and people around him that wanted me to play Suge. The film never took place, but that was many years ago.
Big Red character had such a profound impact on a 20-something Suge Knight that the Suge Knight persona had taken on a life of its own. In a 1995 federal case, Knight pleaded no contest and was sentenced to 5 years probation for assaulting 2 rappers in the summer of 1992 at a Hollywood recording studio. On October 22, 1996, Knight was sent to jail pending a hearing on the probation violation that happened on September 7, 1996, when Suge Knight and his death row entourage, including Tupac Shakur, attacked Orlando Anderson, a Crips gang member. Suge Knight was then sentenced to 9 years in prison on February 28, 1997 for the probation violation, but was granted early release and was let out August 6, 2001. In 2003, Knight was sent to prison again for violating parole when he struck a parking lot attendant. Death Row Records' income rapidly declined during Knight's recurrent incarceration. In 2006, Knight was engaged in another dispute with former friend and ex-associate Snoop Dogg after Snoop insulted him in an interview with Rolling Stone magazine. On May 10, 2008, Knight was involved in an altercation involving a monetary dispute outside of a nightclub in Hollywood. He was unconscious for 3 minutes. At the hospital, he did not cooperate with the Los Angeles Police Department. In February 2009, Knight was taken to Scottsdale Healthcare Osborne to be treated for face injuries he received during an altercation at a private party in the West Scottsdale Hotel, where Knight was reportedly punched. On February 8, 2012, Knight was arrested in Las Vegas after police found cannabis in his car and several warrants for prior traffic violations. On August 24, 2014, Knight was shot at a pre-video music awards party hosted by Chris Brown at a West Hollywood Sunset Strip nightclub. Although shot 6 times, he was able to walk from the venue to an ambulance. His injuries required surgery. It is reported by investigators that evidence from closed-circuit television footage showed that Knight was the intended target of the shooting. Knight was released from the hospital on August 27th. Friend Keith Middlebrook told the New York Daily News that Knight returned home with the intentions to heal up in a few days and be stronger than ever. Knight refused to cooperate with law enforcement on the matter. Jeezy later claimed on The Breakfast Club that he would have been shot had he not been pushed out of the way just prior to the shots. On October 29, 2014, Knight and comedian Cat Williams were both arrested and charged with second-degree robbery in connection with an alleged theft of a camera from a paparazzi photographer the previous month in Beverly Hills, California. While in jail, doctors found a blood clot in Knight's lung. Both Knight and Williams pleaded not guilty to robbery. In 2016, the robbery trial was delayed until the resolution of the unrelated murder trial. And on January 29, 2015, Knight crashed his car into 2 men, killing Terry Carter, his friend and co-founder of Heavyweight Records, and fled the scene in Compton, California. The second victim, filmmaker Clay Sloan, suffered a mangled foot and head injuries. Witnesses claim Knight followed the men to a burger stand parking lot after an argument on the Straight Outta Compton film set, and that the collision looked intentional. Security footage video showed Knight running over both men. Knight claimed he acted in self-defense. In March 2015, Knight was hospitalized after he told a judge that he was suffering from blindness and other complications. Knight fired attorneys handling his murder case and said he was receiving inadequate medical treatment while in custody. The same month, a court set bail for his release of $25 million. Knight collapsed in court shortly after the bail setting was announced. On April 16, 2015, Knight's bail was reduced to $10 million. In July 2015, Knight's lawyer claimed that Knight might have a brain tumor, on the same day that Knight's request for lower bail was refused. On January 2016, Knight changed counsel in his murder trial for a 4th time. In May of that year, 3 attorneys replaced the 2 hired earlier in the year. In July 2016, the judge denied Knight's motion to reveal the identities of several key prosecution witnesses, citing Knight's long history of violence. Knight became emotional after the ruling, stating that because of his health problems, he will die in jail. And in March 2017, Knight was hospitalized after suffering from blood clots, a condition that has been affecting him for 2 years at the time. Knight's hospitalization delayed the trial to September 2018. When September arrived, Knight pleaded no contest to voluntary manslaughter. The judge sentenced Knight to 28 years in prison. As of December 2018, Knight is incarcerated at R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. Suge Knight and Big Red Davis, 2 record label execs that ruled their companies with an iron fist, and goons with guns. They're 2 examples that you can't go through life always being the bully,
Because the harder they come, the harder they fall. And that was Across the Lines. Today in entertainment history, in 1927, actress Mae West is found guilty of obscenity and corrupting the morals of the youth in a New York stage play entitled Sex. She is sentenced to 10 days in prison and fined $500. The resulting publicity launches her Hollywood career. In 1934, Shirley Temple appears in her first movie, Stand Up and Cheer. In 1948, the American Broadcasting Company, better known as the ABC TV network, debuts. In 1967, Casino Royale, a James Bond comedy film starring David Niven and Peter Sellers, premieres, based on the Ian Fleming novel. In 1971, Charles Manson is sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Sharon Tate. In 1978, The Amazing Spider-Man makes his debut. In 1990, the show Wings premieres. In 1994, Nas releases his debut album, Illmatic. In 1997, the show Angry Beavers premieres on Nickelodeon. And in 2005, Mike Jones releases his album, Who is Mike Jones? I sip the Don P, watching Gandhi till I'm charged and writing in my book of rhymes all the words past the margin. To hold the mic I'm throbbing, mechanical movement, understandable smooth shit. The murderers move with the thieves theme. Play me at night, they won't act right. The fiend of hip hop has got me stuck like a crack pipe. The mind activation react like I'm facing time, like Pappy Mason with pens I'm embracing. Wipe the sweat off my domes, split the phlegm on the streets. Suede Timbs on my feet, make my cipher complete. Whether cruising in a 6-cab or Montero Jeep, I can't call it. The beats make me falling asleep. I keep falling, but I'm never falling asleep. 6 feet deep. I'm out for presidents to represent me. Say what? I'm out for presidents to represent me. Say what? I'm out for presidents to represent me. Happy 26th anniversary, Illmatic. So that wraps up another edition of Over the Culture podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. We are now available on Facebook. We have our own Facebook page. Look us up, Over the Culture podcast. We're now available on YouTube. We have our last 3 episodes available. And let's remember to stay washed, keep our hands clean, stay masked, stay gloved, stay the fuck out of each other's faces. Until then, see you next week. Peace.
Ohio! Ohio!